The challenge. The crystalline dome of Nova Academy glittered like a massive jewel against the purple sky of Celestis Prime. Constructed at the intersection of 7 major trade routes, the Academy stood as the galaxy's premier institution for interspecies education. Its halls buzzed with beings from 1,000 worlds, each bringing unique perspectives and evolutionary advantages. Maya Chen adjusted her environmental suit as she hurried down the bioadaptive corridor toward the Advanced Survival Tactics classroom. At 24, she was the first human to be accepted into the Academy's elite wilderness program. Though humans had joined the Galactic Coalition only 30 years prior, they'd quickly developed a reputation for adaptability, a trait that had earned Maya a scholarship despite fierce competition. The corridor opened into a vast hemisphere filled with various terrains, a slice of desert, a patch of jungle, a segment of tundra, all carefully maintained under atmospheric barriers. 22 students from 17 species stood in formation, their diverse anatomies creating an unusual silhouette against the artificial sunlight. Professor Cleverness, a 12-foot-tall arthropoid with iridescent chitin armor and 4 articulated arms, clicked his mandibles impatiently as Maya slipped into place at the end of the line. Unlike the other instructors who viewed humans with curious fascination, Cleverness had made no secret of his disdain for primitive mammals in his advanced class. "Student Chen," he chittered, compound eyes reflecting Maya's image back at her. "So good of you to grace us with your presence. Perhaps on your world, punctuality is considered optional." "My apologies, Professor," Maya replied evenly. "The atmospheric adjustments in my quarters malfunctioned overnight. Maintenance is still calibrating for human respiratory requirements." The professor's mandibles clicked dismissively. "Excuses. Always excuses from your kind." He turned to address the full class, his exoskeleton creaking as he moved. "Today begins your final assessment. As senior candidates, you will demonstrate your survival prowess through action, not theory." His upper limbs activated a holographic display showing a 6-legged creature with prismatic scales and a bony crest. "This is the Nexus beast of Gamma Sector. Adaptive predators with chameleon-like camouflage capabilities and highly developed sensory organs." The hologram rotated, highlighting the creature's multiple sensory pits and retractable talons. "Your task: capture 1 specimen. Alive. You have until the 3rd moonrise, approximately 26 standard hours. You may use any equipment from your personal survival kits, but nothing more. Success earns graduation with honors. Failure," he paused meaningfully, "means repeating the entire year." A collective murmur rippled through the group. The Nexus beast was legendary, a creature so elusive that even experienced hunters rarely encountered one, let alone captured it alive. Drex, a hulking tauren with metallic skin and augmented muscle fibers, flexed his massive arms. "With respect, Professor, the Nexus beast is solitary and nomadic. Finding one in such a time constraint is precisely why this is a final assessment." "Cadet Drex," Cleverness interrupted. "In real survival scenarios, you will face impossible odds with limited resources. Those who cannot adapt perish." His gaze lingered on Maya. "Some species rely on technological innovation to compensate for their biological inadequacies. Let us see how that serves them when technology is limited." Maya met his stare without flinching, though she recognized the barg for what it was. Most of her classmates possessed natural advantages: Siphons with electroreception, Meridians with infrared vision, Volcrins with enhanced strength and regenerative abilities. By comparison, humans seemed woefully unspecialized. "You will be transported to separate sectors of the Gamma Training Preserve," Cleverness continued. "The terrain mimics the beast's natural habitat. Your environmental suits are programmed with vital sign monitors and location trackers. If your life signs indicate critical danger, you will be extracted and failed." He gestured to a row of teleportation pods along the far wall. "Your sectors have been randomly assigned. You may begin." The students moved toward the pods, some checking equipment, others performing species-specific preparation rituals. Maya inventoried her survival kit: basic medical supplies, multi-tool, water purifier, nutrient bars, tent mesh, adaptive clothing, fire starter, and a length of carbon fiber cord. Standard issue, but far less specialized than what her classmates carried. Nearby, Lyril, a serpentine meridian with scales that shifted from copper to deep blue, unfurled a compact device that transformed into a heat-seeking scout drone. Vex, a gaseous voludian contained within an exosuit, was calibrating molecular sensors that could detect chemical signatures from kilometers away. Maya felt a familiar tightness in her chest, the same sensation she'd experienced during her academy entrance exams, when examiners had openly wagered on how quickly the primitive primate would wash out. As she approached her assigned pod, Professor Clezorth stepped into her path. "Student Chen," he said, voice lowered to a raspy whisper, "I have observed 17 different species attempt this challenge over my career. Many failed. None of them were squishy, slow, sensory-deprived humans." Maya straightened her shoulders. "Then I look forward to expanding your dataset, Professor." His mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Humans, always so verbally defiant, even when biologically outmatched. Your species' collective delusion about its capabilities would be entertaining if it weren't so potentially fatal. Before Maya could respond, he moved away to inspect another student's equipment. She stepped into the teleportation pod, a cylinder of translucent material that hummed with energy. As the door sealed, the academy disappeared in a flash of blue light. Maya materialized in a densely forested area, massive trees with phosphorescent foliage towering above her. The air was thick with humidity, carrying strange, sweet scents. Her environmental suit automatically adjusted, filtering the atmosphere to human-safe parameters, while a heads-up display analyzed the surroundings. Gravity 1.2 Earth standard, temperature 35 degrees Celsius, oxygen content 22%, tolerable but strenuous for extended activity. Unlike her classmates, who would immediately begin hunting using their specialized senses or technology, Maya sat down on a fallen log and pulled out a small notebook and pencil, antiquated tools that had earned her ridicule from classmates, but which never needed recharging or calibration. She began to draw, not the beast itself, but the environment. Noting the patterns of light filtering through the canopy, the direction of water flow in a nearby stream, the flight patterns of local avians, the tracks pressed into the soft earth. While others hunted the beast directly, Maya studied its ecosystem. 3 hours later, she had filled several pages with observations and working theories. The Nexus beast was an apex predator, which meant it would have established territories, preferred hunting grounds, and regular patterns. Most importantly, as an ambush hunter, it would choose locations that funneled prey into vulnerable positions. Rather than using a scanner to search randomly through miles of jungle, Maya traced the most likely hunting corridors, where game trails converged, where water sources created natural gathering points, where terrain features created bottlenecks. By midday, she had identified 3 promising locations and began setting up. Unlike her classmates with their high-tech approaches, Maya worked with the environment. She gathered flexible vines and wove them into a series of snares, positioned carefully across game trails. She dug shallow pits camouflaged with foliage. She crafted rudimentary deadfalls, rigged to immobilize rather than kill. Each trap incorporated natural materials that would register as part of the environment to even the most sophisticated senses. Each was designed with multiple trigger mechanisms, ensuring that even if the beast avoided one, it might activate another. As dusk approached, Maya had established a network of interconnected traps spanning half a kilometer. Now came the waiting game. She found a secure position in the branches of a massive tree, tethered herself with the carbon fiber cord, and settled in to observe. The alien night brought new wonders. Bioluminescent insects that pulsed with rhythmic light, nocturnal creatures that glided between trees on gossamer membranes, flowers that bloomed only in darkness, releasing clouds of glowing spores. Shortly after midnight, Maya's suit comm crackled to life with an emergency broadcast. Student directs requesting extraction. Sustaining major injuries. Vital signs destabilizing. Maya listened as, one by one, her classmates encountered difficulties. Lyrell's scout drone had been destroyed by an unseen predator. Vex's molecular sensors were overwhelmed by the complex chemical soup of the nocturnal jungle. 2 more students requested emergency extraction after falling into natural pit traps, likely dug by the very beasts they were hunting. By dawn, half the class had been extracted or reported failure. Maya remained in position, observing, learning. She made minor adjustments to her traps based on nighttime observations, setting triggers more sensitively and reinforcing containment mechanisms. Around mid-morning, she detected movement, a subtle shifting of light patterns across the forest floor. Something large was moving with deliberate care along one of the game trails, its prismatic scales bending light around its body to create near-perfect camouflage. Maya held her breath as the shimmer approached her primary trap, a complex mechanism that would trigger only if something of significant mass disturbed multiple trigger points simultaneously. The design ensured smaller creatures would pass safely through. The shimmer paused, head lifting to test the air. Maya's trap design had accounted for the beast's sensory capabilities, using only natural materials that would carry no foreign scents. The containment mechanism was hidden underground and downwind. For an agonizing minute, the beast remained motionless. Then it continued forward, drawn by the subtle positioning of Maya's trap at a natural funnel point in the terrain. 3 steps, 2 steps, 1. The trap activated in a blur of motion. A counterweighted net of woven vines erupted from beneath the forest floor, encasing the creature before it could react. Secondary restraints activated as it struggled, tightening around limbs without causing injury. The beast thrashed and hissed, its camouflage failing to reveal iridescent scales shifting through a rainbow of colors. Maya descended carefully from her perch, approaching with caution. The Nexus beast was magnificent, larger than she'd expected, with intelligent eyes that tracked her movements. Its prismatic scales rippled with color as it assessed this strange bite that had somehow outwitted its superior senses. "I apologize for the undignified situation," Maya said softly, knowing the creature couldn't understand her words but might respond to her tone. "But we both need to pass this test." She activated her comm unit. Student Chen reporting success. 1 Nexus beast captured alive, requesting confirmation and retrieval coordinates. The silence that followed spoke volumes about the Academy's and Professor Cleverness' expectations. The Trapmaster. Repeat your transmission. Student Chen. Professor Cleverness' voice crackled through Maya's comm unit, disbelief evident even through the electronic distortion. "You claim to have captured a Nexus beast." "Affirmative, Professor," Maya replied, keeping her distance from the contained creature. 1 adult specimen, approximately 300 kilograms, captured alive and uninjured. A long silence followed. Transmitting retrieval coordinates now, the professor finally responded. "Remain in position. I will verify this. Claim. Personally." Maya settled on a nearby rock to wait, maintaining visual contact with her captive. The Nexus beast had stopped struggling, instead watching her with unsettling intelligence. Its prismatic scales had settled into a pattern of deep blues and purples, colors Maya suspected might indicate curiosity rather than aggression. She pulled out her notebook and sketched the creature, noting anatomical details that weren't evident in the holographic representations. The way its secondary breathing vents opened and closed rhythmically, the articulation of its multi-jointed limbs, the protective membranes that occasionally slid across its 4 eyes. "You're beautiful," she murmured to the beast, and far too intelligent to have been caught by anything less than a carefully planned approach. The beast tilted its crested head, as if considering her words. "Your hunting grounds are perfectly chosen," Maya continued, making notes. "That depression creates a natural sound amplifier for detecting prey, The convergence of 3 game trails maximizes opportunity, and the overhead canopy provides shade for your cold-blooded metabolism while letting you detect the heat signatures of warm-blooded prey against the cool forest floor. She looked up from her notebook. But you've never encountered human thinking before. We evolved as persistence hunters and trap makers. When we couldn't outfight predators, we outsmarted them. A vibration in the ground signaled an approaching transport. Maya stood as a sleek shuttle descended through a gap in the canopy, hovering above the forest floor. The hatch opened to reveal Professor Cleverness, accompanied by 2 senior faculty members. Director Thalasi, a crystalline Lumidian whose body refracts light in complex patterns, and Dean Vorrigan, an ancient chronid whose species was known for their analytical minds and temporal perception. Cleverness's mandibles clicked rapidly as he surveyed the scene, a reaction Maya had learned to interpret as extreme surprise. The director and Dean exchanged glances as they approached, their movements cautious. "Remarkable," Director Thalasi said, her crystalline form shifting to a pattern that indicated admiration. Not only a successful capture, but achieved without technological assistance beyond standard equipment. Dean Vorrigan circled the trapped beast, his temporal perception allowing him to observe it from multiple perspectives simultaneously. The restraint system is primitive yet effective, using the beast's own strength against it. Most fascinating. Professor Cleverness remained silent, his compound eyes fixed on Maya. "The technique is based on ancient Earth hunting methods," Maya explained, "modified for the Nexus beast's sensory capabilities and strength. The primary net is woven from local flora with sufficient tensile strength, with secondary restraints that tighten proportionally to resistance. You constructed this from plants." Cleverness finally spoke, his tone incredulous. "Yes, Professor. I also mapped the beast's territory and identified its prime hunting grounds rather than searching randomly. Apex predators are creatures of pattern and efficiency." Director Thalasi's crystalline form shimmered with amusement. "It seems your assessment of human capabilities requires revision, Professor Cleverness." The professor's mandibles clicked once, a sound Maya had never heard from him before. She realized with shock that it might be the Nexulian equivalent of being speechless. "The capture satisfies the assessment requirements," Dean Vorrigan stated. "Student Chen will receive full honors, as stipulated." Cleverness seemed about to object when a series of emergency signals began flooding the communication network. One by one, the remaining students were reporting failure or requesting extraction. Some had sustained injuries, others had exhausted their supplies, and several had simply failed to locate any sign of a Nexus beast. "It appears we will have only one successful candidate this cycle," Director Thalasi observed, "unless." She turned to Maya. "Student Chen, the transport has capacity for additional specimens. Your trap design appears quite effective." Maya understood immediately. "With your permission, Director, I've identified 2 additional hunting territories within reasonable distance. I could attempt additional captures while the extraction team assists my classmates." Dean Vorrigan's temporal perception rippled with approval, a subtle distortion in the air around him that indicated positive evaluation of future outcomes. A resourceful suggestion. "Professor Cleverness, you will accompany Student Chen. I believe this will be educational for you both." For the next 4 hours, Maya led the professor through the forest, explaining her observational methodology as they went. She showed him how she'd identified territorial markers, how she'd analyzed scat and tracks to determine feeding patterns, and how she'd used the natural terrain features to predict movement corridors. At each new location, she adapted her trap design to the specific environmental conditions. The second capture went smoothly. Another adult specimen, slightly smaller than the first, taken without incident. The third location required more creativity, as they discovered not one but a mated pair of Nexus beasts. "We'll need to modify the approach," Maya mused, studying the clearing where the pair had established a temporary den. "They'll protect each other, so we need simultaneous triggers." Professor Cleverness, who had been increasingly quiet as he observed Maya's methods, finally spoke. perhaps a dual trigger mechanism, utilizing the protective instinct of the larger specimen to drive it into the primary containment area. Maya looked at him in surprise. "That's exactly what I was thinking, Professor." For the first time, the Nixulian's mandibles clicked in what might have been the equivalent of a thoughtful hum rather than dismissal. Together, they designed and implemented a modified trap system. When activated, it successfully contained both beasts without injury. By the time they returned to the extraction point with 4 captured specimens, the third moon was rising, casting an eerie green light over the assembled students. Most looked battered and exhausted. Several wore medical stabilizers. All stared in disbelief at the containment units holding the Nexus beasts. "As you can see," Director Thalassi addressed the group, her crystalline form glowing softly in the moonlight. "Student Chen has not only completed the assignment, but has excelled beyond expectations." Dean Vorrigan gestured to the beasts. "These specimens will be studied and then released back into their natural habitat. Their capture represents not only technical achievement but ethical conservation principles, a cornerstone of advanced survival philosophy." Maya stepped forward. "With respect, Dean Vorrigan, there's another option to consider." She gestured to her tired classmates. "Many of my colleagues have gone without food while exerting themselves in high-stress conditions. Nexus Beast is considered a delicacy in 7 systems, and these specimens could provide substantial nutrition." A murmur ran through the group. Even injured and exhausted, the mention of food, particularly such rare and prized meat, sparked immediate interest. "The beasts are Academy property," Professor Cleverness began, but Director Thalassi interrupted. "The successful candidate has traditional rights to determine the disposition of captured specimens," she reminded him. "It is an ancient privilege dating back to the Academy's founding." "Then I propose a feast," Maya said. "1 beast released as a breeding specimen, the other 3 prepared as sustenance for the class. Among my people, successful hunts are communal celebrations, not individual achievements." Dean Vorrigan's temporal perception rippled with approval. A wise application of resources and an appropriate conclusion to this assessment cycle. Hours later, under the triple moons of Celestis Prime, the survival class gathered around cooking fires on the Academy's central grounds. The aroma of roasting Nexus Beast filled the air as students from 17 species shared the bounty of Maya's hunt. Injuries were treated, stories exchanged, and valuable lessons discussed. Maya found herself at the center of an unlikely gathering. Drex, his metallic skin still showing damage from his encounter with a beast, raised a goblet of fermented nectar. "To the human," he rumbled, "who taught predators how to hunt." Laughter and cheers erupted around the fires. Even Vex's gaseous form pulsed with amused colorations inside his exosuit. Professor Cleverness approached Maya as the celebration continued. His exoskeleton had taken on a more subdued hue, what Maya had come to recognize as a reflective state among his kind. "Student Chen," he began, mandibles clicking softly, "I find myself in the unusual position of having to reevaluate certain perspectives." Maya waited, saying nothing. "Your species lacks many advantages evolved by others in the galaxy. You are not the strongest, fastest, or most sensorially gifted. Yet today, you succeeded where physiologically superior beings failed." "We had to learn different skills to survive on Earth," Maya replied. "Observation, pattern recognition, tool-making, cooperation, using brains instead of brawn." "Yes, I see that now." The professor's compound eyes reflected the firelight in faceted patterns. "In focusing on what humans lack, I fail to appreciate what you possess." He extended one of his upper limbs, a formal gesture of respect among Nixulians. "The Academy teaches that true wisdom comes from recognizing value in diversity. Today, you were the teacher and I, the student." Maya accepted the gesture, placing her hand against his chidnus limb. "On Earth, we have a saying, Professor. Necessity is the mother of invention. When you can't rely on natural gifts, you develop different ones." A profound insight. Clezorth's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Perhaps next semester you might consider serving as a teaching assistant in my junior survival course. Your unconventional methods would provide valuable perspective. As they spoke, Maya noticed Director Thalassi and Dean Vorrigan observing their interaction from across the celebration. The director's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been satisfaction, while the dean's temporal perception rippled in patterns suggesting favorable future outcomes. "I'd be honored, Professor," Maya replied. "Though I should warn you, humans have another trait you should be aware of." "And what is that, Student Chen?" Maya smiled. "We're incorrigible teachers. Once we learn something, we can't help sharing it with others." For the first time since she'd entered his class, Professor Clezorth made a sound Maya had never heard before, a rhythmic clicking that she suddenly realized was laughter. "In that case," he said, "the galaxy had better prepare itself. If today is any indication, we have much to learn from your kind." Around them, students from 17 worlds shared food, experience, and knowledge under alien stars, a living embodiment of the Academy's founding principle that strength comes not from uniformity, but from diversity, not from competition, but from cooperation. And in this moment, Maya understood that she had passed more than just a survival assessment. She had opened a door, for herself, for humanity, and for a galaxy still learning that appearances can be deceiving, that intelligence takes many forms, and that sometimes the most powerful abilities are the least obvious ones. As the triple moons reached their zenith, casting multiple shadows across the Academy grounds, Maya raised her cup in a silent toast to Earth, distant but never forgotten, and to the human ingenuity that had carried her people from stone tools to the stars.